The waitress had no idea that by caring for an abandoned baby, she was about to meet the missing son of a billionaire single-father man who would turn her whole world upside down. That night, rain poured relentlessly, blurring the view outside the roadside diner. The neon sign above the flickering, open light buzzed quietly, though not a single customer had come in for over an hour. Inside, the only sound were the low on the fridge and the gentle clatter of dishes as Anna wiped down the counter, softly singing an old lullaby to herself. She glanced at the clock, 10:47 p.m., just a bit longer until closing time. A distant rumble of thunder echoed, and then Anna heard it, a faint, plaintive cry. It didn't come from the kitchen or the parking lot. The sound was high and muffled, tugging at her heart. She froze, cloth in hand, her heart racing, and turned toward the entrance. There was again a baby's cry. Anna hurried to the door, confusion etched on her face. She pulled it open, and a blast of cold wind and rain swept in. Standing there was a woman, drenched and shivering, her face hidden by a hood. In her arms, she held a basket swaddled in blankets. The woman glanced nervously over her shoulder before gently setting the basket at Anna's feet. "Wait," Anna called out, stepping forward, but the woman raised a trembling hand, her voice urgent and shaky. "Please keep him safe. Don't call the police. Someone's searching for him." Anna tried to ask her a dozen questions, but the woman had already disappeared into the storm. "Hey, wait!" Anna shouted, running into the rain, but the night swallowed any trace of her. Shivering and soaked, Anna looked down at the Basket-A woven carrier, damp but carefully wrapped. The baby's cries sounded again, frightened and small. Heart pounding, Anna knelt and peeled back the blanket, revealing a baby with wide, tear-streaked eyes no older than a year. "Oh my God!" she whispered, lifting him with trembling hands. He was icy cold. She hugged him close, rubbing his back and murmuring soothing words she hadn't spoken in years. "You're safe now, sweetheart. I've got you." The baby quieted a little, snuggling into her wet shirt. Back inside, Anna wrapped him snugly in a clean towel, rocking him gently as her mind raced. Who was that woman? Why would anyone leave a baby like this? She wondered. As she adjusted the towel, she noticed something glinting on his wrist, a small silver bracelet engraved with a single word, Noah. Anna stared at the name, breathless. "Noah," she repeated softly. The baby gazed up at her, trusting, his thumb in his mouth, still trembling. For a long moment, Anna sat on the diner floor, holding him close, the world outside fading away. Her heartbeat slowed, the baby's breathing steadied, and something inside her shifted. She didn't know who Noah was, where he came from, or why someone wanted to hide him. But in that rainy night, cradling a stranger's child, Anna knew one thing. She would protect him no matter what. Her apartment was tiny, a single room with peeling wallpaper, a noisy radiator, and a view of a brick wall. The floor creaked, the pipes groaned in the cold, and the air smelled faintly of old books and strong coffee. But for Anna, it was home, or as close as she'd ever had. She gently laid Noah on her worn-out couch, surrounded with pillows and wrapping him in her softest blanket of faded, star-patterned throw, a little frayed but clean and warm. He barely stirred, his small chest rising and falling in deep sleep, one tiny hand still gripping her shirt even as he dreamed. Anna sank to the floor beside him, hugging her knees to her chest, not even noticing the cold linoleum beneath her. Her eyes lingered on the baby, taking in every detail, his delicate eyelashes, the curve of his cheek, wondering what would happen next. He looked so delicate, so innocent, so full of trust, almost as if he reminded her of herself long ago. Anna Hale had once been abandoned too, left as a baby at the doorstep of St. Mary's Home for Children when she was just 3 months old. She'd been wrapped in a hospital blanket, with no note, no name, just a wide-eyed infant with nowhere to belong. The nuns had chosen the name Anna, and Hale came from the street where she was found. Anna had no memories of her biological family, no photos, no stories, only a thin file with a few details and a past she never wanted but always carried with her, invisible and heavy. Life in the orphanage was bearable, never outright cruel, but rarely loving. There were always too many children and never enough caregivers. Meals came on time. Clothes arrived in black trash bags, and birthdays meant store-bought cupcakes with names written in icing by people who didn't really know the children behind them. Anna learned early how to fade into the background, never the loudest, never the cutest, never the one to draw attention. She was a quiet girl with big eyes and gentle hands, always watching, always waiting for something she couldn't quite name. She watched as other kids were adopted, one after another, leaving with hopeful couples and small hands held tight. Anna remained year after year until she turned 18. By then, she was used to being left behind. She packed her belongings in a second-hand duffel bag, stepped out into the world with a bus ticket, a minimum wage job at a diner, and a kind of independence that felt less like freedom and more like the absence of anyone to catch her if she fell. Since then, Anna had scraped by, moving from one cheap apartment to another, always earning just enough to get by, never enough to hope for more. She didn't go out, didn't date, didn't let herself dream what was the point. But now, there was a baby sleeping on her couch, a baby with name engraved on a silver bracelet, a baby who clung to her shirt as if it was the only safe place in the world, a baby who never asked to be left behind. Anna reached out, gently brushing a curl from Noah's forehead, her fingers trembling as they lingered. Noah shifted slightly but stayed asleep. A quiet ache grew in Anna's chest, one she hadn't felt in years. It wasn't quite pain, but something older and softer, a kind of grief wrapped in hope. She remembered lying awake as a child, listening to others whisper about their real mothers, wondering if maybe someday there's a return, or maybe they'd be adopted, or maybe they were just lost, not abandoned. Anna never believed in maybes. But Noah, he still had time, still had hope, and tonight, at least, he had her. She thought of the woman in the rain, the panic in her voice, the way she'd looked at Anna and entrusted her with something so precious. Please protect him. Don't call the police. Someone's looking. Anna wasn't naive. She knew what she was supposed to do: report the baby, call child services, let the system handle it. But Anna had grown up in that system. She knew what it took from children and what it never gave: safety, stability, love. Noah didn't need paperwork. He needed a person. Anna stood and walked to the kitchenette, where she dropped her coat and bag earlier. She took out the bottle she'd hurriedly bought at the all-night pharmacy and warmed it in a pot of water. Her hands moved instinctively, as if she'd done this forever. Returning to the couch, she lifted Noah into her arms. He stirred, then let out a soft sigh, his head resting against her chest. Anna rocked him gently, whispering into the quiet. "I don't know who you really are," she murmured, "or what comes next. But you're not alone. You have me, at least for now." And for the first time in her adult life, Anna didn't feel alone either. Morning sunlight streamed through the slats of Anna's blinds, casting golden stripes across her cluttered kitchen. Dust floated in the light as the fridge hummed in the background. Anna stood barefoot at the counter, her hair tangled from another sleepless night. In her hands, she shook a baby bottle filled with warm formula, testing the temperature against her wrist, as she'd done several times in the past 2 days. On the floor beside her, Noah sat in a second-hand baby seat with a faded cartoon print, babbling softly, rubbing his eyes with tiny fists. His legs kicked lazily as he watched the dust dance in the morning sun, perfectly content in his small corner of the world. The TV murmured with the morning news, but Anna barely listened, letting the voices fill the silence as her thoughts drifted sleepily between the bottle, the baby, and the gentle rhythm of their new routine. Then, breaking news caught her ear. The morning news reported that tech billionaire Benjamin Moore had made an emotional public appeal after his 1-year-old son, Noah Moore, was abducted. Anna's hand froze as she shook the bottle. It slipped from her grasp, but she managed to catch it. Her breath held tight as if her body already understood what her mind refused to accept. She turned to the television, where a composed anchorwoman delivered the story with urgency. Behind her, footage showed police lights flashing outside a grand estate, security personnel behind yellow tape, and news vans clustered at the gates. Authorities confirmed that Noah Moore had been taken from his home late the previous night. There were no signs of forced entry, and initial evidence suggested the involvement of someone from inside. Mr. Moore had offered a $10 million reward for any information leading to his son's safe return. The broadcast shifted to a live feed, Benjamin Moore stood at a podium, his face drawn with exhaustion and worry, his suit hanging loosely, eyes red from lack of sleep. "If anyone out there has my son," he pleaded, gripping the podium so hard his knuckles whitened, "please bring him home. He's all I have." Anna's breath caught. She looked down at the baby in the seat Noah. Same age, same name, the same soft brown hair and wide, curious eyes. "No," she whispered, her hands trembling as she picked him up and pulled back the blanket. The silver bracelet on his wrist gleamed. Noah, engraved in graceful script. Her fingers traced the letters as a chill ran through her. She looked back at the screen, now showing an official photo of baby Noah Moore in a pale blue onesie, sitting in someone's lap. The image was a little blurry, but the resemblance was undeniable. The same dimple in the chin, the same faint birthmark near his left ear. Anna's knees buckled and she collapsed onto couch, clutching Noah tightly as if someone might try to take him away at any moment. He giggled softly, reaching for her necklace, unaware of the danger, safe and loved in her arms. But Anna was unraveling. What did this mean? She remembered the woman from the diner, the silk clothes, the wild eyes, the desperate whisper. "Please protect him. Don't call the police. Someone's looking." Anna had assumed she was Noah's mother, but now everything was different. That woman hadn't been abandoning her child. She was hiding him from something or someone, and now Anna was involved. She should have gone to the police. That had been her first instinct, but the woman's fear had been so real, so urgent, that Anna had listened. Now that choice weighed heavily on her. She hugged Noah closer, his warm cheek pressed her collarbone, his breath soft and steady. Tears stung her eyes. "I didn't know," she whispered to him. "I didn't know who you were." Noah made a gentle sound, his fingers curling around her shirt. On the screen, Benjamin Moore's voice broke through again. "He's all I have." Anna pressed her lips to the top of Noah's head. She wasn't ready to call the police, not yet. She needed answers. She needed to understand why this child, this precious boy, had been left in her care by a woman desperate enough to disappear into the night. Deep down, Anna knew this wasn't a simple kidnapping. It was a warning, a plié, desperate attempt to keep Noah safe. And for now, with her, he was... Meanwhile, in his silent office high above Manhattan, Benjamin Moore stood alone, gazing out at the city. At 35, he was a tech prodigy and billionaire, founder of Moore Vantage, a leader in private investment. He had built empires and negotiated billion-dollar deals, but none of it mattered without Noah. He rubbed his face, exhaustion etched deep. His shirt hung loose, his jaws shadowed by days without shaving, his sharp eyes dulled by grief. Noah had been missing for 4 days since Benjamin had stepped away for a brief call, leaving his son with the only nanny he trusted, and returned to find the nursery empty. No signs of struggle, no broken windows, no ransom note, just silence. Police had searched the house, the media speculated, and private investigators scoured the country. But there were no leads. Benjamin had never felt so powerless. He didn't believe in fate or miracles. He believed in data, logic, control. But this was chaos, a pain beyond statistics. He turned from the window to Noah's untouched room. The walls painted a soft blue, stuffed animals lined up along the crib, a mobile still spinning. He sank into the armchair where he used to rock Noah to sleep and stared at the empty crib. "Where are you, buddy?" he whispered. Memories of his son flooding his mind, Noah's sleepy smile, his first steps, his giggle at silly animal sounds. He had promised to protect Noah, and now he had failed. His thoughts drifted to Celia, his late wife, who had died during childbirth. They'd been married only 2 years. Noah was all he had left of her. After her death, Benjamin buried himself in work. But every time he saw Noah's face, he was reminded that love could survive loss. He tried to be both mother and father, protector and provider, and now he had nothing. Outwardly, he appeared composed, but inside, he was falling apart. He ignored calls, avoided his board, refused interviews. All he did was search for viewing footage, following tips, hiring hackers to scan the dark web, offering a $10 million reward. Still, nothing. Publicly, he insisted Noah was alive, but privately, doubt crept in. A quiet knock broke the silence. His head of security, Daniel, entered. "The police still have no leads, But we found something odd in the internal system, he said. Benjamin stood, tense. What is it? Daniel explained there was a 15-minute blackout in the main floor camera feed at the exact time Noah disappeared in inside job. Benjamin's jaw tightened. He had trusted too easily. No more interviews, he ordered. No more press. From now on, everything stays quiet. We dig deeper, discreetly. Someone took my son, and I will find them. Daniel asked, and when you do? Benjamin's voice dropped to a whisper. I won't lose him again. Once was unbearable. Twice would destroy me. Days blurred together for Anna, filled with anxiety and whispered lullabies. She barely slept, haunted by the image of Benjamin Moore's tearful plea and the weight of the secret she now carried. Anna couldn't shake the image of the billionaire's tear-streaked face on television, the father of the child now sleeping soundly in her arms. Driven by uncertainty and guilt, she began scouring every article, video, and news segment about Benjamin Moore. She learned he was 35, a widowed tech mogul with a reputation for being shrewd and distant at least until his son Noah was born. After that, everything about him seemed to soften. Anna found photos of Benjamin with Noah at charity events, pushing a stroller through Central Park, always surrounded by security. When she zoomed in on one of the pictures, her heart dropped. The same face, the same round cheeks, the small scar above the eyebrow, and the identical bracelet. Her Noah is Noah. Anna realized she couldn't keep pretending this was just a temporary situation. She had to act. When she heard about a charity gala Benjamin would attend an annual fundraiser for children's hospitals, she saw a narrow chance, not to confess everything, but to see if he would recognize his son. She borrowed a dress from a friend at the diner and waited outside the venue near the back entrance, Noah bundled in a soft coat and hat, her heart pounding. The moment came quicker than she expected. Benjamin emerged, flanked by aides and security, looking exhausted but still commanding. Distracted by his phone, he glanced up and his eyes locked onto Noah. He stopped abruptly, his face draining of color, all the noise and movement around him fading away. He leaned forward unconsciously, as if trying to close the distance by will alone. Noah, he whispered, barely audible. Anna saw his knees buckle and his hands tremble. Panic rising, she turned and hurried away, ignoring someone calling after her. She rushed down the alley, clutching Noah, her heart racing with shame and fear. She didn't notice the man with the earpiece writing down her license plate. The next afternoon, a knock came at Anna's door. She opened it to find two sharply dressed men flanking Benjamin himself, who seemed even taller and more imposing in person, his eyes both cold and deeply wounded. He entered before she could speak. The moment he saw Noah sleeping in the bassinet, something inside him visibly broke. He approached, dropped to one knee, and gently touched the baby's hand, as if afraid the moment would vanish. Noah stirred, blinked, and smiled like watching a man come back to life. "That's my son," Benjamin whispered. "That's him." Anna swallowed, trembling. He stood and turned to her. "How long have you had him?" 5 days, she replied softly. Benjamin's voice tightened. "And you didn't call the police or the press? You just kept him?" "I didn't know who he was at first," Anna stammered. "A woman left him at the diner where I work. She said someone was after him. She begged me not to call anyone. She looked terrified, mid-30s, wet hair. She was gone before I could ask anything." Benjamin exhaled and started pacing, fists clenching and unclenching. "And when you saw the news?" "I recognized him. The bracelet. I knew it was him. But I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I thought if someone dangerous was looking for him, maybe he wasn't safe with the police either." "And you thought he'd be safer with a waitress living paycheck to paycheck?" Anna flinched. "I didn't keep him to steal him," she said quietly. "I kept him safe. I loved him." Benjamin froze, the room falling silent. He studied her not just as a stranger, but as someone who had cared for his son when he couldn't. Noah gurgled contentedly from the bassinet. "You fed him?" Benjamin asked, voice softer. "Change him?" "Held him. I stayed up every night," Anna replied, eyes misty. "I didn't know who he was, but I knew he mattered." Benjamin's jaw worked silently. "I thought I lost him forever," he he said. Then I see him, held by a stranger, smiling like nothing ever happened. Tears welled in his eyes. I should hate you, he added. But I don't. Anna said nothing, her heart breaking even as she knew this moment was inevitable. Benjamin took a deep breath. I need to take him home, he said. But I want to know everything from the beginning. She nodded, and as he lifted Noah into his arms, the boy clung to his collar and rested his head against his father's chest. The room was filled not with anger or resentment, but with something new, fragile, uncertain trust. Once Noah was safely home, sleeping in his own crib under the watchful eyes of private security, Benjamin shifted from grieving father to relentless strategist. He was determined to uncover who had taken his son and why he'd been left with stranger. His tech team reviewed security footage from the diner and surrounding streets, ran facial recognition, and finally identified her. Camila Torres, Noah's live-in nanny for over a year. Her background checks had been spotless, her references glowing, and her nurturing presence had made Benjamin trust her more than he'd ever thought possible. But she had vanished the night Noah disappeared. Now, Benjamin finally understood what Noah had been through. As he dug deeper, he uncovered something disturbing. Camila's brother, Diego, had a criminal history involving gang activity, money laundering, and alleged connections to a trafficking ring that had recently become active again. Suddenly, everything made sense. This wasn't a random kidnapping or a ransom gone wrong. There had been a second attempt planned. Someone, possibly Diego, intended to abduct Noah again, but this time not to protect him, to sell him. Benjamin's heart pounded as the truth set in. Camila must have discovered the plot, and instead of turning to the police or to Benjamin, she chose to run. But why leave Noah with Anna? The answer appeared in the diner surveillance footage. The recording showed Camila, soaked and frantic, standing outside the entrance with Noah in his basket. She scanned her surroundings anxiously until she noticed Anna through the window, quietly cleaning tables. Camila paused, watching as Anna offered a gentle smile and a free coffee to a homeless man. In that moment, Camila made her decision. She would trust someone kind, someone whose circumstances might make her invisible, someone more likely to hide Noah than to surrender him to authorities. Camila stepped into the rain and walked toward Anna's light. After watching the footage, Benjamin sat in silence. The pain in his chest was no longer only grief, it was gratitude. Camila had risked everything. She hadn't trusted him, but she had trusted Anna, and Anna had honored that trust. When his head of security asked if they should track down Camila or involve the police, Benjamin shook his head. No, he said quietly. She saved him. Camila had chosen exactly the right person. That evening, the house was peaceful, bathed in the soft glow of lamplight. Outside, the garden stretched beneath the stars, the distant city a world away. Inside, laughter had returned to more estate, gentle, innocent, and alive. Noah had just fallen asleep after his bath, clutching his favorite stuffed elephant, his hand reaching instinctively for Anna's fingers until he drifted off. Anna lingered at the nursery door, watching him for a moment before closing it softly. She found Benjamin waiting in the hallway, holding 2 glasses of red wine. You deserve this, he said, handing her a glass. You've been incredible with him. Anna hesitated, then accepted, their hands brushing. They moved to the sunroom, Benjamin's favorite place, now overlooking the backyard, where fairy lights glimmered among the trees. The room, all glass and quiet, felt warm when they were together. They sat across from each other on a cream sofa, wine glasses between them. For a moment, neither spoke. Benjamin finally broke the silence. He reaches for you before anyone else, he said softly, even me. Anna's heart ached, not with guilt, but with something deeper. I was all he had, she whispered. Benjamin nodded, staring at his wine. I wasn't there. I thought I'd built a fortress around him, top security, perfect plans. But I forgot the most important thing. What's that? Anna asked. He looked up, his gaze steady. Love. Real, present, patient love. Anna's throat tightened. Benjamin continued, voice low. After Celia died, I shut down. I focused on work, on things I could control. But I wasn't really there for him, not the way I should have been. You were. I didn't do anything special. Anna protested, eyes misty. Yes, you did, Benjamin replied. You stayed. You never asked for anything. You read to him, made him laugh, made him feel safe. And you made me feel something I thought I'd lost forever. Anna looked up, startled. I'm not just grateful you saved my son, Benjamin said, his voice rough. I'm grateful you saved me too. The words hung between them, fragile and full of promise. Anna didn't know how to respond, so she simply smiled, letting a single tear fall. It wasn't a love declaration or a fairy tale, but it was really a new beginning, the start of family. As the sun dipped behind the hills, painting the world in gold, a quiet field stretched wide, dotted with wildflowers and dew. In the center, a checkered blanket and a picnic basket set the scene for laughter. Noah toddled through the grass, chasing bubbles, his giggles bright and infectious. Anna knelt nearby, blowing more bubbles, her heart fuller than she'd ever imagined. Benjamin stood a few steps away, arms folded, smiling softly at the two people who had changed his life. Noah suddenly ran to Anna, nearly tripping before falling into her arms with a joyful squeal. Mama, he called, burying his face in her shoulder. Anna froze, then hugged him tightly, tears in her eyes. Benjamin sat beside them, gently taking Anna's hand. She looked at him, still teary, and he smiled. Do you think a little abandoned baby could really bring two broken hearts together? Anna glanced at Noah, now dozing in her lap, then back at Benjamin. Her voice was quiet but certain. Noah wasn't abandoned, she said. Noah was found, and so was I. Benjamin squeezed her hand as the sky turned to rose and amber. The three of them sat together, wrapped in warmth and stillness, in something that finally felt like home. As the last light faded, Benjamin pressed a gentle kiss to Anna's forehead. No words were needed in that embrace. Beneath the sky of their second chance, a silent promise was made. Whatever the future held, they would face it together. In a world where so many are lost, sometimes being found is the greatest miracle of all. This isn't just a story about a child left behind. It's about healing, about second chances, and about how love, quiet and unexpected, can mend what was once broken.